Hey everyone, welcome to Know Your Gear QA Live number 122. Every time I say it, it seems like the numbers. Maybe we should restart. I think I talked about that before. We'll just call it number, maybe at 100 we should have just went to 1 and then, this is number 22. Anyways, it's number 122. And we're ready to do a hangout and talk. I actually don't have a whole lot on my agenda today, so it'll be interesting. But believe it or not, there's already some top questions, which are the super chatty questions. And of course, questions I was filtering through the as you guys were chatting before I went on live. So I'll start addressing that first. The first thing I want to start before I do anything else is this week I have a new patron. His name is Joe. And Joe, I hope I'm saying the last name right. It's Zaffoto, Zaffoto. I'm doing it phonetically, Zaffoto. Hopefully that's right. Welcome to the patron team. And I thank you for that. The other questions that came up that were interesting, hold on, I pinned them over here. These weren't top chat questions. These were just chat back and forth, and I thought it was interesting. One of the questions was actually a chat between Melissa and Paul, and they were talking about some Know Your Gear shirts. Paul, I think you got the message. I'm not sure. I sent you an email just now letting you know who you talked to. You talked to my wife about getting a shirt like that made. So there you go. And so you guys know what he was asking. He was asking for the female logo Know Your Gear shirt on a men's style shirt. And the entire Know Your Gear merchandise team is me and my wife. So, and I can tell you exactly how it works. If you guys ever have any questions or requests about shirts, just feel free to ask me, and I will then do exactly what I did with Paul. I will forward it over to my wife and copy you on it. And if she can do it, she does it. If she can't, she can't. We do our best. My wife had to teach herself how to do the program that edits the shirts. So, and she does pretty well, but it's not like it was her. She's not like a graphic artist or anything, or anybody with a ton of years of experience doing that. So we do our best. So there you go. That question was easy. The next one came from, well, it doesn't say who it came from. Not on my side of the screen. It just says, if you could only have 6 guitars, what would they be? So I'm going to assume, well, I'm not going to assume. I'm just going to tell you 6 guitars, and I'm going to pick from my personal guitars. It would definitely be my olive green American Professional Stratocaster, the double humbucker one. That's for sure. Then it would be my PRS Mira. I have 2 of them. I don't care which one. Just because I like that guitar. Both, I have 2, but they're essentially the same. The G&L Telecaster, or ASAT, ASAT. That would be 3. Probably now, just because I'm really hot on them right now, my Ibanez AZ, and I've been playing that nonstop. And I know what's funny is, I think when I'm thinking my next one, my first thought that popped in my head was my John Mayer Silver Sky, but I know it's going to sound strange, but I feel like with that assortment of guitars, I have a Tele style, I have a Strat style, I have my Mira, which would be my Les Paul sounding type of guitar, and I don't even remember what the fourth one I just said was. Anyways, or did I say 4? See, I'm counting on my fingers, but let's see. Let's do this again, because apparently I haven't had enough coffee today. I would definitely pick my olive green Strat, my Mira, the G&L. I think for the fourth one, because unless I picked the fourth one, I don't remember, I would pick the Solar guitar, which is behind me. And the reason is that would be my metal guitar. And what else? I mean, I'm not picking a bass because you said guitars. I would probably say my Dan Electro 59. But it would be a real close call between that and the Framus Television, which is the blue guitar behind me. Because those would be all the sounds I need. I'd have a hollow body, I'd have a metal guitar, I'd have a Strat, I'd have a Les Paul style. I know what you're thinking, why don't you pick one of your Les Pauls? It's because I like my Mira the best. I've had that Mira forever. I wish PRS still made them. They don't make them. One thing I've talked about on the channel which was really kind of exciting to fall in love with the John Mayer. The John Mayer is the only PRS that I own, I think, that I play. Actually, that's better yet. That I play that you can actually get. Most of the other PRSs I play, they don't make them anymore. I used to make a joke that that I was the Paul Reed Smith curse, because every guitar I love from Paul Reed Smith, they stopped making. So, okay. Okay, so that was that question. Walter had a question too. It says, what do you think most guitar players could improve on? And I know what you're going to say, practicing, but it's not actually my thought. You know, different guitar players. I love this question because depending on who you would ask, that would actually probably curtail the answer. So if I asked like a guitar teacher, you know, what could the guitar players improve on? They're going to probably push it more towards the teaching logic, right? Us being a gear channel, you know, hey, what do I think a guitar player should improve on? You'd think I might say a gear question, like learn their gear more, know your gear kind of thing. But to be honest with you, one thing that I find that is one of the things that I think guitar players really need to work on is playing, just playing, and playing with other musicians. And the reason I say that is one thing I kind of laugh at, just going to let you know right now, I laugh sometimes at some of the comments in the videos over the years, especially the trolly kind of comments where they're trying to attack your guitar playing skills. And I always kind of chuckle because I'm not a virtuoso guitar player. You know what I mean? Like Pete Thorne's just really great. He's a great musician, but then he's also a virtuoso guitar player. That's two different skills to me, Pete Thorne's skills. There's the skill set that allows him to show up and play with a band because he has a vast playing capability. And then there's, you know, he can write a great album because he's got a great writing ability. And then he's a virtuoso, so he can make technical playing sound awesome. But in my world, I think where a lot of general guitar players, the majority of them, really fail is they don't play enough. They don't play enough music, and they don't interact with enough musicians. And the reason I say that is just in the last year, I've had to go on stage, learn a song. Let's see, Robert Baker taught me a song while they were playing a song. We had to go on stage, and I had to play with Phil X, and with the song I learned right then. When we did the Rockin' 1000 just a couple weeks ago, we learned all 18 of those songs between Friday and Sunday. 72 hours, we learned 18 songs and performed them in front of the audience. Being a great guitar player, that probably helps, but realistically, it helps you to understand when you're playing. The more you play music, it's like, I don't have a great analogy for this, maybe like driving a car, right? To me, driving a car would be like you're on the freeway and you get used to where the other cars are. You get a sense of what's going on around you, you get comfortable with it. I think playing music, when you play music, the more you play, the more comfortable you get with music. And so practicing is good because that's technique. Learning your gear is great. All those things are great. There's no wrong answers. You're just asking, the question is, what do I think guitar players could improve on? And that isn't what I think, like, based as a theory. Just watching musicians react, because I have a real, like I did play with Larry Mitchell a couple months ago, you know, and he's a Grammy-winning artist, and he's like, hey, you want to come up on stage and play some songs? The reason I say that is I want to play music. so I'm like, yes, anytime anybody asks me to play music, I'm like, yeah, let's go do that. You know, especially now in my life where I have a little bit more time, you know. I used to never have any time. Now I at least have a day or two that I can use for my personal life. So on that note, I think that's what a lot of players need to work on, is playing music. If you're not playing music, I think you're missing out. And I think, hold on, Bud's saying, I think Phil is telling us to quit our jobs and practice more. Not practice. Practice is a different skill set than playing music. Playing music literally means you play music. I know that it's technically practice, but you understand what I'm saying. Playing with backing tracks, playing along, like karaoke, you know, play the song into your stereo and play along to it all the way to the end, right? Don't learn the riffs, play the music. Learn to play with other musicians to figure out what you can offer. You know, a lot of times if somebody asks me to come up on stage and play some songs, if I'm just familiar enough with the song that I can play the chords in the background, maybe I'll play the background. And I've learned as a skill set for me is put the spotlight on the talent. In other words, a lot of times I'll go up on stage and I'm just there to play and not screw it up for the ones with the talent. Let them shine, let them show off, let them be awesome. Just playing music is just being part of that on stage every time is a thrill for me. It makes me feel like, you know, it's like even the the weakest player on the football team, when they win the Super Bowl, gets the ring, right? Even the weakest player on stage still got to be on stage and play music. That's how I view myself when I'm on there. Not always as the weakest player, sometimes, but not always. But sometimes just playing music. So that's my speech. Okay, and while I was doing that, I was missing a bunch of questions. So don't worry about the top chat questions. Those are all pinned. I'm just scrolling through what everybody else was typing. Okay, let's see. Steve says, I never see you with a Rickenbacker. Yeah, I don't own one. I had a blue one. I think I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, maybe 50 back, that I had one, and the neck is just too small for me. Love the tone. And I've said this, I know I've said this before, I will say it again. The reason I have the love for the 59 Dan Electro right here is it's not the same as a Rick, but I associate Rickenbackers with like Tom Petty, and I associate these Dan Electros with like Tom Petty, the kind of sound. So to me, this is my inexpensive Rick-esque guitar. And I say that with all the love because I understand that some people who love Rickenbackers might get upset that I'm comparing like this $400 guitar to a Rickenbacker, which I think Rickenbackers, so you know, on their merit of their quality, are some of the best made instruments in the world. They're one of the companies that never gets enough accolades for the fact that they're one of the few guitar companies that have held their ground the entire time. Ricks are made basically the same way they've always been made, to the same quality standards. They don't have an import line. There's nothing wrong with that. We like import lines. That's how we can afford things. But what I'm saying is, it's nice when a company's like, we have one level of quality and that's what we focus on. That idea is great. I love those ideas. And that actually chimes into something that happened last week. I got a question from Nathan Sanye, and it was a top chat, and I didn't see it, and he texted me and let me know I missed it. And the question was, what is my pet peeve? This is a good school episode for me. Seems like all the questions are about me. Anyways, so what's my pet peeve? My pet peeve with guitar players. What's my pet peeve with guitar players? And so my answer is really easy. I don't like anyone... I don't like it. I shouldn't say I don't like anyone. I don't like it when anyone talks in absolutes. And so it doesn't even have to be about guitar playing. You could just, anyone who speaks in that language really turns me off really quickly. So I'm just not interested. Let me give you a great analogy or a great kind of idea of how, an explanation of what I mean by that. If somebody was walk up to me and say, the best way to tune a guitar is this, I'm all ears because I'm always looking for the best way or a better way. If somebody says, the only way to tune a guitar, as soon as somebody tells me the only way, let me tell you what my brain does immediately. If you were to walk up to me right now and say, the only way to do this, my brain immediately thinks, I want to find another way because I just can't believe there's only one way to do something. And so I'm not saying that's the case. There's always one way to do something. I'm just saying in my experience, I have been wrong more than right. And that has taught me that I better not think in absolutes because absolutely, I'm wrong more than I'm right. Everyone is. That's how you get right. You do wrong, right? You mess up. Sometimes the mess ups give us the best knowledge. So I don't like it when people talk in absolutes. It kind of turns me off in listening to them. So that's my pet peeve. There you go. And then now we'll try and see if we can keep it more on the gear, less about me. Frank Rizzo. Dude, that's funny. Frank Rizzo just did a super chat for $1 or a euro. Actually, that's more than $1. Frank Rizzo, if you guys remember the Jerky Boys, anybody back remember the old Jerky Boys? Frank Rizzo. So, if you don't, I'm sure you can Google it. The Waco Kid official says, I want to start collecting pedals. What's the best way to start? The best and only way to collect pedals or anything that you're going to collect is figure out what you love. The reason is collecting is about, it's about a lot of things, but it's really about something to take your time and enjoy. Okay. So I collect pedals as well. It's something I collect, and I've morphed over the years in my collection of pedals. And I've been in the last, I'd say, year and a half, pretty strong into just collecting Boss pedals. I don't collect the crazy $400 Boss pedals. I'm not interested. Some of you guys are great. You guys will send me an email like a lead. Hey Phil, there's this crazy Boss pedal on Reverb. Check it out. It's $600. I'm just not having it. In fact, so you know, I've had a couple Boss pedals that I bought really good prices on, and they became like worth $300-400. I immediately sold them and just bought some lower price Boss pedals. I started collecting Boss pedals because I realized that when I was a kid, a Boss pedal was just really expensive and I couldn't afford it. And I was buying these boutique pedals and I was like laughing, going, you know, it's funny, here I am buying a $200 pedal, and I used to covet the $100 pedals by Boss. And so I like to pick them up used when I see one, give them a try. As you guys know, when I was in Nashville, I bought a fuzz pedal. But I actually love Boss pedals. I love the story behind Boss pedals. I like the history of Boss. It's just interesting to me. So that's what my advice to you. If you're going to start collecting pedals, don't worry about which ones are going to be worth money one day. Don't worry about any of this stuff. Find something you like. It doesn't even have to be. I have a friend, and he collects cheap junky pedals. Like, his goal is to find a pedal he hates. I thought it was an interesting thing to do with your spare time, but it's seriously, if he goes into a store and he sees a pedal for $16, he goes, oh, I bet you it sounds like a turd, and he buys it, and his hope is that when he gets home, he plugs in and he goes, it's just horrible. And he said, but believe it or not, most of the time you plug in, you're like, it's pretty good. And it's because that's the thrill. The thrill is that how cheap can he buy a pedal, and how bad can pedals get? He's not wrong, because he's entertained by it, and through time he's kind of figured out that there's a lot of pedals that we kind of stick our nose at that are awesome. So just find what you love and follow that. If you don't have a love of pedals yet, you don't have any information or anything, well, then you need to find a starting point. And my suggestion probably first is to look at the music you like to play and see what kind of pedals might help your music, and then that way you're buying in your field. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, somebody asked me what wacky pedals I had, and I mentioned that I don't have any wacky pedals. I don't play any weird music. I play most of the music I play is funk, blues, jazz, especially for bass, and rock, right? Some metal. I don't play anything too crazy. I don't play any like shoegaze music or anything. I'm not trying to insult anybody's music. I don't know the names of all the weird musics, but I know that there's like, these atmospheric droney tones and stuff. I don't do that, so I don't collect those pedals. They don't pertain to me. So same advice to you. Don't buy anything that doesn't pertain to you, unless of course that's what you're trying to collect, right? Let's see. And side note, that, because I just kind of point out about collecting, because that gives me a point about collecting things that don't pertain to you. I like to collect shredder guitars. Like, I have some 80s shredders guitars because I'm not really an 80s shredder. So I love the idea of that. Like, I never was an 80s shredder. It died right when I got into guitar. I think I've told this story before. When I started playing guitar, I started my first guitar lesson literally, I want to say it was 1989. So I always remind everybody, think about this. I start guitar, and there's like Steve Vai Passion Warfare. There's, I think Dream Theater was around that time or right after that time. I mean, there was just definitely still the shredder thing was happening. People were playing like Steve Vai and stuff. And within 2 years, that just became something you didn't play anymore. So interesting. Okay, what else do we got? Joseph says, Phil, I recently purchased a used Ernie Ball Music Man Armada. Have you ever played one? If so, do you think it's a good alternative to a Les Paul? I have never physically picked up the Ernie Ball Armada. It looks interesting. I think I will tell you this. I think I was one of the only ones I remember when I first saw it. I remember thinking it was gorgeous. I remember that because I remember when I saw the first time they put it out, all my buddies were like, this was horrible looking, but I thought it was the coolest thing. It just looked it looked like, I don't know, something classy from the 50s and the future kind of mixed together. So I've never played one, but I've heard nothing but good things, but I've just never seen one in person. And do they still make them? Isn't that the thing they stopped? But I thought I saw a video where Rob Chapman had one made for him at the factory, but I don't know if I've seen him with it. I watched the documentary he did, and I'm pretty sure that's what he ended up picking. I could be wrong because I'm going off my memory on this, and it was almost a year ago. Let's do a non-pin question. Let's see what else poking around. There's almost 700 of us, 650 of us. Oh, okay. Rob Brady says, hey, Phil, what's the best product for removing minor scratches and swirls from guitar finish? I use a Stuart McDonald swirl remover. I'm sure it's a repackaged product from some other company, probably like McGuire's or something like that. The deal is, though, you may have seen it in a video. Actually, I can tell you exactly the video I used it in. I did in the video Sharpen My Axe, where I did Tyler Larson's guitar. He had scratch marks all of his guitar, and I used that to buff it out. In fact, I use it with just a microfiber cloth. Love that. In fact, I bought it. This is the important part. I bought it. It's not much smaller than this water jug that I bought from StewMac, and I think I bought it in 2009. So it's 10 years old. I'm still using it. So that's how long I've had it. I every time I go to reach for it, I think I'm going to open it up and it's just going to be all caked and no good, but it's still liquidy and works good and shakes up well, and I've had no separation issues with it. So I'll put a link in the description. I'm sure some of you guys know the alternative out there with, what other products that are like it. I've had no reason to go find the other product because I bought that one and then, I've had it ever since. But I know it works because I've been using it for 10 years and it works fantastic. Let's see. Thomas wants to know, what do I think about Duesenberg guitars? Duesenberg guitars are a strange guitar to me. Every time I see them, they look great, and I've never really picked one up and played one. I think I've mentioned this before. I have two good friends that are, one's an amp builder and one's a luthier, and they both have one and they both love them. And so I respect their opinions, and so I would imagine they're good because they both have them. Me, I've never seen them because every time I go into Guitar Center, that's where I've seen them. Or I shouldn't say I've never seen them. I've never played them because every time I go into Guitar Center, they always have them up high. You have to get the guy out with the ladder, and it's a whole process. And I wish I knew more about them. I always feel like it's so controversial. I did the How Do You Say video, and I used Duesenberg in it. And there's always this controversy about the fact that they're German, but they're made in Korea. And it's definitely a brand I would love to spend some time and learn more about. So they definitely seem nice. Brian says StewMac has a tool sale going on now. That's crazy because I didn't know they did sales. that helps. So, as we know, the stuff is pricey. Okay, and hey, and Seaburger says, hey guys, let's hit that like button for Phil. Yeah, you know what? That'd be awesome. It's nice. It always helps the algorithm. Who knows what it does? So it makes me feel better. Although I do kind of chuckle, like I started today's show and there was like 4 thumbs down. I thought, I'm like, Ralph is multiplying. So let's see what else we got. We have some, I'm switching over to the screen to look at some other questions over here. This one comes from David. David wants to know about a modern player Tele or a mini bucker in a Mexican. Okay, the question is modern player Tele or mini bucker in a Mexi Strat. I have sorry, David, I don't think I understand the question. Are you asking me the modern player? See, I'm thinking like the Fender modern player Tele is a type of guitar, and then, or should you put a mini bucker in a Mexican Strat? The modern player Tele is a fantastic guitar, if that's what we're talking about. I have played many of them. I've set many of them up. The only negative of the guitar, it's not a big deal, just worth mentioning, it's one of the only, especially in concurrent production, Fenders that is made in China. It might be made in Indonesia now, but it was made in China or Indonesia. It's one of the only products that they don't make in either the Mexico or the U.S. plant. Nothing negative about that. Just I thought it's noteworthy is what it is. Otherwise, a mini bucker and a Mexican Strat, that's all day long. That's my choice. As much as I like so here's how we'll do this. I would pick a Mexican Strat with a mini humbucker over the modern player, as much as I like the modern player, just because I like Mexican-made Strats. So, Jeff Harper did a super chat for no reason, just to say hi and put that in the jar. I appreciate that. And okay, this is a crazy question, Raymond. He wants to know, so a baritone with a capo equals standard scale or at standard? Man, I don't have a baritone in front of me. So I would imagine, what does it start with? It's B to B, right? That would be the baritone. So the first fret's A. I don't know. So I would imagine, I guess the question, again, without looking at it, is at what point do you capo it and it becomes standard? Well, you would just walk it up, right? So it starts at B and then it goes to A and then A sharp, right? No, what am I doing? A, C, sorry. So it'd be B, it's going to be C, C sharp, D. Wow, it'd have to go a while before it gets to, but yeah, in theory, at some point you would capo it and it would be E to E. Man, I wish I was more savvy at this in my head. It's just not something I can do without looking at it in front of me, if that's the question. But the reason I'm answering the question, usually I defer and say I don't know, but as much as I don't know in that to do in my head right here, I'd rather talk about the logic of doing it. My guess is it would not feel very good. Yeah, and Michael's saying it depends on the baritone scale. That's the other problem too. I actually have two baritone guitars, and they're actually both very different baritones. So it's a little tough. But here's my thought on this. I would not capo a baritone. First of all, you need a special capo, because not all capos have the strength to clamp down and hold down that much tension with those bigger strings. Yeah, so, and I know a lot of you guys are popping in with some good answers and stuff. So, again, I hope that helps Raymond as well. But Raymond, the best, basically, I just wanted to say I wouldn't recommend doing it. It's not something I've seen that would be practical. I understand if you have a baritone, maybe that's the only guitar you have. Can you do it standard? Yes. Yes, could you capo it and make it standard? I mean, of course, you can figure out anything. But I wouldn't if you didn't have to. In fact, even if you have to, I'd try to find another way around that. Jeff Harper says, hey, Phil, is there a 335 shirt? I don't think so. I don't think we did a 335 shirt. I think what we ended up doing was, there's a hollow body shirt. So Jeff, if you email me at askknowyourgear@gmail.com, just askknowyourgear@gmail.com. Just put in the subject t-shirt and then say 335 shirt. I will forward that to Shauna. I'm pretty sure. Well, I know there's a hollow body shirt because I have one, but I don't remember what hollow body's on it. I thought it was a single cut hollow body. I just don't remember. So, but it's a great question because we can always ask my wife if she has that logo or if she can make that logo. Because making a campaign on is pretty easy. Plus, we have a local custom shirt person who can make shirts if we need them, which are a little better quality, a little better shirts too. So we just do our best to accommodate everyone. Because keep in mind, every time you buy a shirt, you're doing a bunch of things. First, you're supporting the channel, which I appreciate. Second, you're advertising for my channel, which I really appreciate, right? Especially since, I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to, when you guys used to send the pictures of the shirts to me, I used to get such a kick just seeing all the crazy pictures, and I still love them to this day. If you go to the website now, I actually updated the website this week so that on the front page you can see all the people with shirts. And so if you have pictures of yourself with a shirt, please send them to me. I love seeing those, and I love using them in the videos. But the other thing now that's happened over time with the channel that's very impressive is, you guys, you have seriously done something in this industry that is interesting, which is I have been approached by many companies now, big companies, right? Like impressive companies, the big ones, saying when they're at events, they see so many of the Know Your Gear shirts that they say it's impressive. You know what I mean? So it really feels good, man. Let me tell you, that just feels awesome. So thank you for that, because it's nice. It's like a giant community of guitar geeks. The other thing is, I should say this too. Another thing that I noticed that they all say too when they tell me about the shirts, because these companies will go, hey, at the so-and-so, like the Sweetwater event, they'll go, at the Gear Fest, there was some bunch of Know Your Gear shirts, or at NAMM, there was a bunch of Know Your Gear shirts, or wherever, rock concerts. But the thing that kind of makes me chuckle is they always go, that's when they say that. But the thing that they say that always, seriously, like it just makes me happy. is when they tell me, I was talking to somebody the other day who was wearing one of your shirts. Your viewers are very like into guitar. And I'm like, yeah, I would imagine if they're watching what I'm doing, they gotta be a little bit geeky, and I love that because I'm very geeky. So I love being a nerdy geek kind of for guitar stuff. So I have no problem with it. So I hope thank you guys for that. I just want to say I should have said thank you a long time ago because it is something that's been coming up lately. And Ellen just said, Ellen just got a new KYD shirt. Love them. Thank you so much again. And if you have pictures, send them to me. And watch the pictures. Some of you guys, I understand, don't want to be in the photos. That's cool. Just be creative, right? I think somebody put one of the shirts on their dog. It was awesome. So anyway, anything's just fun to see all the creativity you guys have. Okay, so Brian's got a question. Brian's question is, Phil, is there any way you won't buy used? Yeah, there is. First, I'm assuming used. We're going to say used online because I think that's a more practical problem, okay, than used in person. Used in person, you can really kind of sense what a piece of gear is. Used online, the reasons I would not buy it online is if I get a weird read from the seller, which happens, okay? So, for instance, if I ask a question and they're kind of jaunty, rude, put out, I imagine that my logic is if they're crappy to you before they got your money, it's not going to get better once they have your money. So sometimes I'll back off if I get the wrong vibe. Go with my gut instinct on that. Not every time. Sometimes you can just tell somebody's that's just their personality. There's nothing wrong with being straightforward and not everybody has to be like, thanks a lot, bro, you're the best, right? Just some people are just like, yes. That's not what I mean. What I mean is like, I will not answer questions, don't bother asking. That usually is like, I think I'll go pass, right? I tend to also not like anything that feels too good to be true sometimes. And again, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. What I mean by that is everything about it kind of reads weird, like, it's the greatest guitar I've ever... I'm always weird by that. But it's the greatest guitar I've ever owned. All right, so why are we selling it? Maybe they need money, but so like that. So I guess my what I'm trying to tell you is the majority of the time that I won't buy a piece of gear used has nothing to do usually with the gear. It has to do with the seller. The seller will freak me out more than the gear, because that comes from, like I said, you have a guitar store for a decade, plus you tend to figure out the truth is there is there is a large majority of people out there who are out to take advantage, and so you have to look for that. So if you get a bad vibe, go with the bad vibe. In other words, just trust your gut. Yep, Phil Mosley says going with your gut feeling is generally a good rule. Yes, your first instinct usually is right. And what happens is I always find logically it's not logic, it's emotion that always steers me in the right way when it comes to these kind of things, and logic is what screws me over. So what I mean by that is emotion, I go, this is weird, I should walk. And then my brain goes, yeah, don't be distrusting. You know what I mean? And then your brain logically comes up with a reason why, and you'll get messed over. So go with your gut. 9 out of 10 times you'll probably be right. So Matt Thomas says, what's the best mini tube amp for modern metal? I don't know what the best one is. I can just tell you my favorites. My favorite is definitely the MT15 by PRS, the EVH by LBX. If you need a clean channel, the second one. Otherwise, I thought the first one sounded a little better. The PV 51 or 6505 Mini is pretty good, although I say that because I obviously have owned two. One was good and one was defective, so I always remember, the defective one always kind of reminds me that, there's issues I should point out. I like my Grandmeister 40, but to be honest with you, the Grandmeister 40, as much as I love it, it's a lot more expensive than those amps. So, and if the question is, do I like it more than those other amps? I like having the features. So yeah, I do like it more than those other amps, but it's not because necessarily the tone is better. It's just literally has so many options that it's fun to play through. And of course, in the small box amp category, a lot of people like Orange. I've never really owned them, although I've liked every one I've played, in that price point. What else for metal in the small box category that's reasonable? Everything, I'm thinking, you didn't say reasonable price, but I was thinking everything about sub $1,000. Over $1,000, I mean, I think all of them. I don't think I've played a bad one yet. My Mesa Boogie Mark V Mini is awesome. The Friedmans are great. So, hold on. Like I said, I'm jumping back and forth. There's 700 of us, so it scrolls a little faster. You can always tell when it goes up another 50, 100 people because it scrolls a little faster. Let's see. SD Design says, Hola, Arizona. I am your neighbor from San Diego. Love San Diego. I love to visit San Diego. The weather is amazing every time. So, it's great. Okay, hold on a second. J-Bogue Nap says, Phil, thoughts on dropping a HSS pickguard into a Squier Contemporary HH Strat? I want a maple fretboard. Fingerboard. Yeah, I think dropping a pickguard into a Squier is one of the best ideas you can do. If you don't like the way the Squier sounds, upgrade that. The recommendation I give you is to do exactly what you're talking about. Drop the new pickguard in the Squier and keep the old one. The only reason I say keep the old one is if you ever sell the guitar, put it back to stock. You'll never get your money back out of the new pickguard or aftermarket pickguard. Even if you buy one of those, a lower priced one, doesn't matter. You'll never get the money out of it. Just might as well put the old parts back on the guitar when you sell it off, or if you sell it off, and use the pickguard for the next guitar. That's what I love about that. So I'm a big proponent for keeping original parts, just because that's where you see a lot of people lose a lot of money real quick. And when you mod up a guitar, when I do these mod videos, a lot of people will use that as in the comments. They'll say, why mod this guitar? It's a waste of money. And my logic always is, well, it's only a waste of money if you sell the guitar with all those mods in it. You will lose all that money. But you can always use those mods on the next guitar or another guitar if you're into modding guitars, right? That's another thing, too. I understand when some people don't understand the modding guitar thing. They're like, I don't understand putting $200 into a $300 guitar. Well, you're probably not into modding, right? By that logic, I don't understand baking an apple pie if you can go buy one. If my logic is I want to eat an apple pie, I guess I'll just go buy one. But some people like to bake. So same thing. It's different strokes for different folks. Everybody's trying to get something out of their time. Sometimes working on guitars is as fun as playing guitar. I find that to be true. One of the things I like about working on guitars is as much as I like playing guitar, sometimes I don't like playing with other musicians. Not every musician's a good person. One thing about anybody who's played in bands, sometimes to find out how bad a person is, you just be in a band with them. You'll figure it out. In fact, that's probably the best test for you younger ones out there that ever think about getting married. Try to get in a band with somebody you want to marry. You'll find out real fast if you like them or not. A band brings out the worst qualities in people sometimes. So, let's see. Neil says, thanks for the cable video. Your thoughts on wireless connectors compared to cables? Are they affected when using a pedal board compared to just an amp? Guitar, can you recommend a good brand? That's a great question. It's funny. I like that video. That video I just did, what he's talking about, guys, is I did a video this week, why guitar 18-foot thing. And then I thought, when I made that video, which I thought was going to be a 2-minute video fast, I felt like I was confusing people more than helping them. So then I added more information. The problem with those videos for me is they're great because I think it's more about just, hey, did you know this? This is why what an arbitrary number, and here's why somebody would pick that. The question that you're asking me is, what are my thoughts on wireless? I don't use wireless units. It has nothing to do with me being at home more than I'm playing. I never used wireless units. I won't say never. I think I had one once, literally, I think my second or third year playing guitar. And I bought a wireless unit because I had a half stack, and it was like a half stack and a wireless, and I will be professional. No understanding of any wireless unit. I've never owned anything. My wireless unit, the only one I've ever owned was a Telex. I'm not even sure if Telex makes wireless units anymore. And I bought the Telex wireless unit. I'll never forget this because I bought it like 91 or 92, probably 92. I bought a Telex wireless unit because when I went to the store, I said Nady, because I remember everybody in the 80s, it was Nady. And I said, I want a Nady wireless. And the guy behind the store goes, we have Telex. And I go, oh, is that any good? He goes, it's what the football players use at the NFL. I'm like, it's Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, well, it's got to be good there. But on the other part of the question was, are they affected when using a pedal board compared to just an amp? And can you recommend a good brand? Well, I can't recommend a good brand, although a lot of people like the Line 6 ones, but please don't take that as a recommendation. I'm just telling you what I hear. That's a lot of things I hear. I'm sure people will have comments down below to add to that. But as the other thing about what they're affected by, a lot of them have switches. So that's to do that. Again, I'm just not a wireless guy. I don't know. You know, actually what I'd be curious to track out is the Boss wirelesses. I have heard that is one wireless I've heard as equally. It's weird. I've had 2 friends tell me it was amazing and 2 friends tell me it was the worst thing they ever owned. And I thought that was just so strange. I've never heard 50-50 before. I've never heard half the people say it was horrible and half the people say it was good. So I was curious about that. So that's a wireless I was curious about. Let's see. And Matt Presley says, I have a jack on my Guild semi-hollow body where the nut is stripped. Yep. I can't get to the nut off to replace the jack. Should I cut it off with a Dremel? Matt, that's a question, unfortunately, there, that Matt and then the picture. And I'll take a look at it and give you a suggestion. So of how I can handle it. So if you could just take a couple quick pictures with your phone, that would help me see it. That would help. This is an interesting time to bring this up. Somebody had mentioned doing videos like that where you guys send in pictures of problems you have, and then not in a live format like this, but then that would be the video I would look at it and give you suggestions. There's car channels that do that. You tell them the problem, send them some pictures, and then they give you some input on that. I think that would be great. I would love to do that, especially since one thing I could do is I have resources. So in other words, even if I can't, even if I don't know the fix, I probably could reach out, which I've done before in the past. A lot of you guys send me a lot of emails of questions, that email address. We try to get to a lot of them. We can't get to all of them. We just can't. It has nothing to do with how many that come. It has to do with how many come at one particular time. Sometimes I get 10 emails in a day and we'll answer all 10. Sometimes I get 100 in a day. I can't do it. I just can't get to it. And the problem is by the time we do get to them, it's been 2-3 weeks, and sometimes I just think, well, I don't want to spend 10 minutes typing an answer to a question that's probably been handled by now. So Matt, don't worry if you send me the pictures, just put Matt. I'll make sure I get it done tonight or tomorrow. I'll give you thoughts on it because I don't want to give you any advice without seeing it. Adam Garrett says, would love to see a KYG shirt with an Ibanez bass. It's funny. That's probably a good idea since I play a lot of Ibanez basses. I like Fender and Ibanez basses and, of course, my Warwick, but my Warwick was a custom one, and that's the main one I use now because it's custom. But maybe that'd be a cool bass shirt because, like I said, I like that. Adam, I will... What I can tell you, though, Adam, is if you really, really want one of those shirts, again, do the same thing. Email me at askknowyourgear, Gmail, askknowyourgear@gmail.com, and I will forward it over to my wife. She will respond. My wife is way more diligent about responding than I am. So she'll at least respond to you and tell you if it's possible. So if she can get it done or not. If she can make the graphic, because that's what it's about. If she can do the graphic, because she has templates of course, it's a stick figure graphic. She has templates of it. She can input some stuff. Of course, because of legal reasons, we can't copy any one instrument down to the T, of course. We don't do that. We change the headstocks and stuff. We have our own designs for certain things, but it will be Ibanez-esque. I mean, the whole idea is to give you something that gives you pride of ownership, that we know that's the instrument you love and you want. If you want to support my channel, you want also a piece of yourself in the shirt. I get that as well. Victor says, thinking of getting a good Strat. What do you think of Suhr guitars? Are they worth the money, or should I get a regular Fender USA? Suhr guitars are fantastic. Okay, that's fantastic. That's every time I pick up a Suhr guitar, I'm in love with the way that they play. On that being said, obviously I bought an Ibanez AZ. The reason I did that was because the Suhr I was looking at was $3,000. That was a crazy amount of money, and for me, and it was heavy. I can't find a light one. Every time I spend hours on Reverb looking at Suhr guitars, looking at the weights, and all of them are like 8 pounds, 8.5 pounds. They seem to be on the heavier side. I like the Strats on the lighter side. So that's what ended up happening. I ended up getting the AZ. And then, of course, in my situation, I was in a situation in Germany where I found the right guitar for me, which was the AZ, and I got that. So to answer your question, do I think you should get a Suhr or should you save the money and get a Fender USA? I can't tell you which one to get, even though that's what you're asking me to kind of give you input. But the input I will give you is this. I don't think you'll regret either situation. I think a Fender USA guitar and some money in your pocket, you're going to feel good. It's a great problem to have, buddy, is what I'm trying to say, Victor, is don't make this a stressful situation. Make this a fun situation. Either shuck out the money and get the Suhr and say, hey, I got it, I'm happy, or put some money in your pocket and get the Fender and I'm happy. But either way, this is a great choice. Me, personally, I went the Fender route almost every time. I bought the Fender, although, like I said, every time I pick up a Suhr, I go, it's a work of art. They play great. Joseph's got a question. It says, Phil, can you offer any tips on how to set up an American Deluxe Tele with the traditional bridge, saddles with compound radius neck? Let's see. So the question is the tip to set it up? That's a good question. Let me take a drink real quick. So some tips. Well, I could give you the train method that Ron Thorne told us, right? But I think what I'll do is I'll go the easiest thing. I have a sheet. Let me cop out a little bit and back up a little bit. On the knowyourgear.net website, there is a PDF page. There's a downloadable page, and on there is my setup sheet. So I feel like just telling you, I feel like I was about to regurgitate my setup process, but really my setup process is in print. You can print it, so you know. And that's what I do. So the first thing I do, tips, is I measure everything out and I see where it's at. I have a video coming, has nothing to do with setups. It's a little fun trick I do that I've never done before, and it's going to be on another channel, and I promise when it happens, I'll tell you guys about it. But the trick, I'm leaking a little bit of it, and I feel awkward telling you guys this because I don't want to take the excitement from the video comes out, but there's a little trick I can do where if you show me the type of pick you have and I ask you a couple questions, I can tell you exactly what the measurements on your guitar is. It's a fun little game. It comes from doing years of setups, but always measuring everything out. So my tip is always measure everything out because you learn a lot about the guitar and where it's at, and then make adjustments based on those measurements. So I would use my sheet and do that. And I highly recommend that you guys, a lot of you guys have done this already. If you like the sheets, but you think they can be improved, I've seen some people improve them and send me back, and I've actually made some changes to them since then. What's great about that is I try to be very open-minded. I definitely don't think I got all the good ideas. So, but I think I can cultivate good ideas. So if you guys have good ideas on the repair sheets, if you see them, please send them to me. Love sharing that stuff. Making us all better just makes everything fun. And then let's see, back to the main page, what you guys are talking about. Okay, hold on a second. All About Guitars just wants me to let him wants me to know Phil, I'm so glad I have a Fender custom shop. The Fender custom shops are nice. They are. I have a custom shop, but I've been on the record as saying I like my standard as much. What I will tell you is this: my custom shop is a great guitar. There's no questions about that. But as many Strats as I've played, for some reason that green one just stuck with me. It just I don't know. I like it. Primal 58 wants to know what's my thoughts on the Ventera line by Fender. I haven't tried them at all. Tony wants to know if I finished the amp build. No, the problem with the amp build, I get that. The problem is I get that question a lot on a lot of videos when I post the videos like, hey, whatever happened to the amp build or whatever happened to the amp build. The problem with the amp build is I filmed it out of order because I was doing a video with a friend who's an amp builder to do some cool content, and then all the trips came, and then what really kind of just put a wrench in it was when I was doing the amp build, I was trying to finish it before I did all these traveling over the summer, but then Stu Mack reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in doing 2 videos for our channel? And so of course, as you guys have seen on this channel, if you watched any of these podcasts, you know as soon as anybody asks me to do something like that, I'm always like, yes. Hey, you want to do this thing? Yes. You want to be on my channel? Yes. You want to, right? Yes. I try to say yes more than no. So I said yes. What happened with Stu Mac, which is interesting, and now I can feel like I could talk about it. Not like I can't talk about it, but maybe it's the time to talk about it. Makes sense. If you watch those videos on Stu Mac, they're really interesting to me because what I thought was going to happen, I think I said this, what I thought would happen when they asked me to do videos on their channel was like, oh, I'd go to them like I do when I collaborate with, like when I did the Tolman video. I was on Tolman's channel. I went to Tolman and I'm on their channel, right? I was on Marty Schwartz's channel. I went to his studio and I'm on his channel. They literally just said, great. And then a box showed up at my house with all that stuff that's in those videos. And that's it. Just make a video. Which I highly appreciate, by the way, because, it's great. They gave me no instruction really, but they gave me no parameters. They didn't try to restrict my comment. They told me flat out, they were testing an idea. Could they put a video on their channel that had a more of an organic feel to it? In other words, not being, the typical format for them. So they were trying to do something different. The reason I'm telling you that is because those videos, I knocked those 2 videos out. Those are the most intense videos I've ever done time-wise. Way more work than I've ever done on any other videos. So those videos, in fact, the second video, the one with the Les Paul, I was editing till 2 a.m. in the morning and my flight left at 4 in the morning when I went to Germany. That's how down to the minute I was on those videos, which is tough. So there you go. And a little fun fact on those videos, all my repair videos, my shop is in, I have a garage. I have a 3-car garage. So my shop is one of the sections of the garage. And, I built a shop out of there. And I have cooling in there, but it's swamp cooling. It's not AC. And so, but the problem is it doesn't matter. It's cold enough. The problem is I cannot run the cooler when I videotape. And I've tried every scenario. There's just no way around it. I can't even run fans. The mics pick up the fans. Even when I record in here, I can't have fans. So the reason I tell you that is when I do these videos, sometimes it's like 110 outside. Even at night, it's like 105. So once I turn off the cooler and start filming, I can only film for about 20, 30 minutes before I think I die. It's like locking an animal in the car. So that's what's going on. And that's the problem now with the amp build is that I have to finish it, but I got half it done. I got my friend, I need him to get back to help me finish the rest of the video. And I can only do the video at 30 minutes increments at a time because it's literally 115 the other day here. So, Peter goes, what is swamp cooling? Great. Let me explain. Swamp cooler is Peter is a fan that runs a water through basically corrugated looking paper filters. So the water goes through the filters and the fan blows air through the water, and it cools the temperature of the home. Our temperature of the room. When I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. My home growing up, we only had a swamp cooler. We didn't have AC. I live in Phoenix now. Literally, a swamp cooler will not work here. It's too hot because the swamp cooler only think it can cool the temperature about 20 degrees. Well, if it's 115 outside, that's not cool enough. So yeah, swamp cooling is an evaporative cooler. Okay, maybe evaporative cooler is more accurate. We call it swamp coolers here. But more importantly, what I've noticed is that it's not even the evaporative cooler. If you live in a humid climate, that thing doesn't make sense. Like we have a lot of misters here. We use a lot of misters and evaporative coolers because moving the air, it's so dry here that it feels good. So let's see. Michael Nelson. Hey, Michael, what's up, buddy? By the way, check out Michael's channel if you want to see an awesome channel. I'll link something, Michael. Still one of my favorite channels for sure. We had a swamp cooler at my high school. It made the book soggy. You know what? Growing up, I remember was the problem here in Arizona is, again, you'd run the swamp cooler again to cool the house down. It would cool the house down fine because, it's in Tucson, it was like 100. And I told you it would drop to like 20 degrees, so it was like 80 in the house. So it's fine. You can live in that, 80, 78. But when the monsoons would come, the house would feel damp and the carpet, everything would feel damp. It was the weirdest feeling. And I remember like people would visit from like out of state and they'd be like, this is the weirdest thing ever. And I don't know. To me, it was just normal. Brad says they use those at the hangar of the airport. The fans are about 6 foot tall. Yeah, same thing. I have basically a smaller version of what you have, Brad, and it works great until you have to turn it off. And not only do I have to turn it off, but to record, my shop is insulated, but I have to actually shut off. You know, I can't even have the bay open or anything open. So again, it gets really hot really fast. And I only have a problem, to be honest with you, now, July and August, which sucks because, like I said, I started traveling in June. So it's this month. So I can tell you right now, the amp video will get done, but it's just moving slow because anytime I have to be in there, it's just really hot. So Travis wants to know, where's Ralph? Ralph's at work. He can only do the live shows if I do it on Saturday. I can't do it tomorrow. I've been thinking about doing one on a Saturday. Maybe next week we'll do it on Saturday if you guys are up for that, and have him on. I know you guys like having him because he's unfiltered and he'll say whatever he wants, which is good. It's nice. I don't have a problem with it. You know, what's the saying? He knows where all the bodies are buried, but luckily for me, I don't have too many skeletons to worry about. SG Flying V says, ever tried a Fender El Diablo Strat? Might get one. No. Sadly enough, the new software that I'm using to do these videos, this is what you're talking about, because this is what I found. I see the El Diablo Heavy Relic Aged Black Strat. It says no longer available. Maybe it's something else. So I guess my answer to you, SG Flying V, is I've never tried one and don't know what it is. So be cool if you have a way, if you can send it to me. Like I'd love to see it. RNA Music, what's up, RNA Music? Have you ever tried the El Diablo pickups from Duncan? Nope. Apparently there's a lot of El Diablo stuff. By the way, Ryan, I know I've been texting you back and forth. Thank you for getting me your information. I have something. I think she says she's got it all taken care of. Something exciting coming. So I'll let you know when. But I've never tried the... You know what? Hold on a second. On the El Diablo pickups, I need to look because this might be what I think it is. Yes. These are the Scott Ian pickups, right? Yes. Have I ever tried the El Diablo pickups? Yes. They're in Ralph's Charvel. I'm pretty sure they're the Scott Ian pickups. If they're not the Scott Ian pickups, it doesn't matter. They're actually... so to answer the question, have I ever tried them? Yes. They're in Ralph's Charvel. Yeah, and I'm looking on their website. It's $160. I remember because one day we were doing a Seymour Duncan order, and Ralph saw that on the list. He didn't look at the price, and he ordered them. And then when they came in, I was like, these are like $160 street price. And I said, you got to buy these. And then Ralph didn't have a guitar to put them in, so he bought a Charvel, and that's what he stuck in the Charvel. He loves the pickup, but he likes high output pickups like that. So to answer your question, I have tried them. They're not my thing because I'm not really into high gain pickups, but they're definitely, I thought they sounded better than the X2Ns by DiMarzio, and I thought for those high gain kind of ceramic pickups, the X2Ns are cool. It's an Alnico 2 bridge, so it's Alnico 2. Well, it's definitely got a ceramics strip in there. Hold on a second. Alnico. The magnets are extra hot. The DC I'm reading their rhetoric. Thick saturation. Yeah, it's a monster pickup. I can tell you this. It's one of the highest gain pickups sound wise I've heard. So if you're looking for that, it'll have it. It's like a flamethrower. Ralph loves it. Hold on. There's another pen question, but I know, Brian, hold on, buddy. Before I answer yours, I just want to get back to the main screen and answer. There's 717 of us on here, and I don't want to miss out on some other questions as well because they scroll pretty fast. Okay, so Jay, I'm not laughing. I just got to read this. Phil, I threw my $4,000 custom shop 3 pickup SG 25 feet at the end of my punk show, and I didn't catch it. What do I do? Well, it can be fixed without a doubt. So that's the good news. I don't care. I would imagine the headstock broke off, and if it didn't, whatever damage, cracks, can be fixed. So the answer is, what do? You find a qualified luthier to fix it. If you don't know any in your area, maybe I can help you find any. If you need to ship it to somebody, I know qualified guys that can do the work that I recommend, but it can be fixed. The next thing I would recommend, if you're in a punk rock show, I don't know if I would use a $4,000 custom shop pickup guitar because of this reason. So if it was me, I'd maybe get an Epiphone or one of the stripped down Satin Series SGs and maybe take that to the punk rock show. It's that's my advice. Keep in mind when the big acts take $4,000 guitars on stage, they were given them by the companies. The rest of us that have to buy these guitars, you have to make more financially sound decisions. So I would say take your high-end guitars and leave them home and bring more affordable stuff to a punk rock show. RBs says, Phil, what are your thoughts on having a guitar plecked? I own a couple guitars that were plecked. I didn't ask them to be plecked, like the Gibsons come plecked. And every time my G&L was plecked, every time I get a guitar that is plecked, I cannot notice anything that is different than if, let's say, the guitar was just set up really nice. You know what I mean? Or just set up in general. I don't feel anything like, wow, this is amazing. The question with the Plek for me is they tend to do this strange thing when plecking guitars. They pleck guitars that are nice. Nice guitars will play nice, so it's hard to have a reference of what a Plek versus a hand, a person hand setting up or doing the work themselves can do. I had a video idea I asked Sweetwater to do, which was they said they would like to do, just we never could set it up. But the idea was to have them Plek a Squire and then compare it to a nice American Strat to see would people like the Squire if it was plecked as much as the American Strat performance-wise. But we were never able to put those two together. So come together and do that. I would love to do that video, so and so maybe it's something I can, eventually that's the plan. That's the idea. To pleck a low-end guitar and compare it to a high-end guitar. I think it'd be a great video. And I think it'd be enlightening. A lot of companies, I notice when I go to companies, every time I go to a factory, every factory, they always say, here's our Plek machine. I have so much footage of Plek machines. And I always tell them, I go, that doesn't really tell me anything. I get it. You stick in this thing the size of a refrigerator. It plecks the guitar. And, okay. You know what I mean? But to me, just like the cable test, I understand I could put it on a scope and it'll tell me whether or not, the capacitance is happening or not. I want to use my ear. I want to use my hands to tell if the guitar plays great. I don't want, just the machine to tell me it plays great. I want to play it and go, yes, it's noticeably better. Somebody's asking, Primal58 says, could somebody explain what plecked means? Plecked is a plecking machine is a machine that you put the guitar in once the guitar's done. And it doesn't have to be during the manufacturing process. You can do it like at Sam Ash in Hollywood has a Plek machine in the store. You can take a guitar, put it inside this machine. They calibrate the machine by actually sending the information about the guitar to the main headquarters, which I think is like in Germany or somewhere in Europe. And then they send the information back. And based on that information, it tells the machine exactly when they're leveling your frets. They're doing it precisely based on that guitar and precise measurements, and it does all this stuff. Now, so when it's done, it still has a little bit of hand work done to it. So it's called plecked, right? We call it pleck it because it's a plecking machine. And a lot of companies use them. Like I said, Gibson uses them. I think Music Man has a Plek machine. I'm not sure, but G&L has a Plek machine. Framus has a Plek machine. Like I said, when you go to Mesa Boogie, Fender did not have Plek machines the last time I was there. But they're expensive. The machines are expensive, and now it's even more expensive because they've slowly shifted the business model of Plek. Originally, I think it was like buy the machine and then you get the service, and now it's like you buy the machine, but then you pay for the service. So they have to pay for the service, a monthly service or a yearly service. So there you go. Josco Plumbing Supply says, hey, is your gem yellow gem, he means my Ibanez Steve I gem, still available? Nope, I sold it this week. I sold my yellow gem. I still have my floral. I'm not selling my floral. I sold the yellow gem to pay for the AZ guitar I just bought from Germany that was not. I'm laughing because I think I told you guys the story behind that guitar. If I didn't, maybe I'll tell you guys next week. It was more than I thought it was going to be. It ramped up fast. That situation changed. It's one of those situations where always understand what you're stepping into before you step. But I love the guitar, and I like it more than my gem, so it was okay. Dave wants to know if I'm a Beatles fan. I'm a bass player, buddy, so that means absolutely I'm a Beatles fan. So I don't trust a bass player that doesn't like the Beatles. I mean, I might be friends with them, but I don't trust them. Let's see. Dale Bodner says testing. Okay, that's good. Did I miss a comment earlier from you, buddy? I don't think so. Okay, he's just testing. Okay. Brian wants to know Wilkinson WV2-SB trim on a Schecter Korean HSS. I already know this because he just got a new Korean HSS Strat. Height screws on the saddles are sharp, annoying, good replacements that will be more comfortable. Yes. Somebody just sent me this question today. The question today was on the John Mayer guitar. They said that the action on the John Mayer guitar was high. They lowered it, and then now the screws are scratching their hand. And they contacted PRS, and PRS said just grind them down or save them down. They asked me what to do, and I explained to them that on my John Mayer, I actually did the same thing. I lowered it a little bit, and I had to do the same thing. But I let them know that, and I'll put a link in the description, there are some saddles by some companies that you can buy as replacement for the John Mayer or Fender style guitars that you can install these saddles, and then therefore you don't have to worry about grinding those screws down. Brian, on your case, I don't know if there is a replacement saddle for that. I think really the best thing to do is to grind them down. I can show you. I don't know. I never thought about it as a video. I can show you how to do it. It's a really straightforward thing, and how I do it, how I grind them down. It's important how you do it, because if you cut them wrong, if you notice they have a certain shape to them, they're almost like a bullet point at the tip. So you have to grind them nicely. So I've done, you know what, that's so common. If you work in a repair shop in a music store, I mean, it's the most common thing you're doing is grinding those down. Some people can buy aftermarket ones that are shorter. But I find that every time I found a good source where they were nice, I couldn't find them anymore. So I just got to the point where I just did my own. Okay. Turner Herbeck says, Phil, is it okay to ask a guitar shop to put a new set of strings before you buy a guitar? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is that fine? So the caveat to that is, well, first of all, it's fine. It's totally fine to ask, right? In other words, it's not an unrealistic request. However, the caveat to that would be, like, if you're buying a really inexpensive student grade guitar, let's say $100 guitar, I would say that some stores are going to do it for you as a courtesy, and that's great, and they'll put the new strings on, and there you go, and count your blessings, and you're good. If a store, to me, if I was at a store, or a friend was at a store, and they bought an expensive guitar and asked for new strings to be put on it, and the store offered some kind of compromise, like, I don't like if a store's like, yeah, it's $25 plus the $5 for the strings or whatever. That's not cool. But if they say, well, it's normally $25 and $5, maybe we can do it for, right, at least if you're trying to find a middle ground with you, that'd be great. But I think it's definitely not an unrealistic request on anything nicer than maybe a student grade guitar. I could see where a store would want to do that to make the deal. In today's day and age, it's tough, man. It's a tough gig, competing with the internet. So stores have to do that. It's just part of the thing. So yeah, ask for it. And you know what I mean? In fact, it's the first thing I do when I get a new guitar is change the strings. So I can understand. The other thing I will say is to your question is as a maybe another suggestion is definitely either ask if they'll put a new set of strings on your guitar. That's the first question. If they do say there is a charge or anything, I would ask them for a set of strings. Say, hey, could I, and I'll do it myself. So, and if you don't know how to do it, well then, that's what the YouTube's for. Right? Lots of free information, tons of restring videos. I have one as well. Just go on there and learn to restring. Something you should learn to do. Grumpy Mike. Hey, Grumpy Mike. Gonna do a lacquer finish for the first time on a Tele kit build. I'll be going back to your rattle can lacquer video before I do. It's funny that's funny that Mike, I have a video that might help you, but it's not going to be out for at least 2 more weeks. I know for a fact, which is I think we're going to title the video. I think the clickbait title I think we liked was what if Squire made a custom guitar? Because we're going to make a custom Squire guitar, and we're going to use a lacquer rattle can finish. So, interesting. Brad Miller says, he's just doing a super chat. For a cold one, next time you have to turn off the air. Is the blackout shirt still available? Hope you enjoy the card holder. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Brad, for the card holder. You gave it to Lawrence. It is awesome, by the way. The blackout shirts are still available. In fact, I'm switching right now slowly to all blacked out shirts. And it seems like a lot of shirt talk today in today's episode. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about is I had my wife make a shirt that I called Subdued or Blackout. And so if you go on the merch store, you'll see it. It's a gray. It's just a gray logo, and you can get it on a black shirt, and it'll look like it's subdued. If you guys know it, the reference, that military reference to Subdued or Blackout, either way. And I like it. I like it because it's just cool, because it's not so pow in your face as much. It's nice. I find like it's a sneaky way to get the logo out there. Julio says, why are Mesa amp tone knobs so odd to dial in? I don't get them. Yeah, they are their own thing. What I will tell you is you definitely, if you're going to own a Mesa Boogie amp, first, you got to do the thing that none of us want to do. Read the manual. It's a must-have. It's a must. Mesa amps, there's a couple other companies too, but Mesa amps are definitely notoriously known for have their own philosophy of how their knobs work. Sometimes, like on the amp, the mid-range control controls the gain. Sometimes the gain controls the bass. It's all over the crazy place. It's not even about active or passive EQ. It gets a little crazier than that. And especially if you get into the Mark series, it gets even a little crazier. However, I will tell you this, learning to dial those knobs in on a Mesa turns the tide from this amp is weird to this amp is magic. I used to hate Mesa amps because I used to go to them and do exactly what we all do is I dialed in my favorite Marshall settings, and it just was horrible. And the video that taught me the most, so you guys know, the video that taught me about Mesa amps was Ola England's got a video on the Mark V Mini, which is one of the amps I own to this day. And he just runs through his settings, and his settings were so bizarre that I was like, I went and did it, and I was like, oh, this sounds great. What the heck? And that got the manual out, and I go, you know what? And then I started learning the Mesa Boogie philosophy on that stuff. Definitely, if you want to get into Mesa Boogie, I would definitely put the time into that. Otherwise, it's never going to work. You're never going to figure it out. It's not that intuitive. It's its own thing. Tony says, hey, Phil, did anyone from Gibson contact you about the vigilante party crashing? Yes, that's great. That's great. So if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that I crashed the Gibson party at the NAMM show. Yes, in fact, here's exactly what happened. Within 3 hours of the show launching on the air, Gibson reached out. Aljon, who's an artist relations rep for Gibson, reached out. I probably should read you his actual email so I don't misspeak, but it was not that long, and I'll give you the gist, which is really important. He apologized that they didn't invite me. He said, look, they just forgot, which is fine, right? And I don't know if necessarily, I think that was just, them. Here's what I want to say. They weren't mad. They said, "Hey, we're sorry, we didn't invite you, we forgot," or maybe that some things got crisscrossed, right? I think they said, I'm pretty sure he said he lost my phone number because I had communications with Gibson in the past, briefly here and there. But obviously, he put LOL. We thought that was funny. They enjoyed the video. They weren't upset. I didn't get a $3,000 like legal summons for the beers. And so good. That was good. In fact, what ended up happening was they reached, he said, not only are they not upset that I crashed the party, they said, would you like to do some reviews for us? And we'd like to send you some guitars. I let him know, so and that I was not interested right now in the Gibson side, but I would be more interested in some of the Kramers and Epiphone side. I felt like I told him, I said, look, at this point, I think maybe the audience would be more interested in Epiphone guitars. And I then further reached out to him a couple days later after the Gibson running over guitars thing and said, maybe we could do something where we do something positive and maybe do some donation stuff. And he said, well, they would be really more than interested in doing some Epiphones for the channel and maybe do some giveaways. So I haven't followed up with him since on that. I should, to be honest with you, as much as I enjoy talking to Aljon, I talked to him briefly on the phone even. I just didn't get a chance to get back. But that's what happened. They weren't mad, which is good. That's the important part. They had a good sense of humor about it, which is really good, especially in today's climate with them. Yeah, somebody says, Phil, are you drinking Arizona while you're living in Arizona? Yes. My wife got Arizona teas, so I'm drinking one. BC Rich 581 says, but Gibson is selling Kramer now. Are they not? I heard that. Does anyone know that as official rumor? I heard it as a rumor. I haven't heard it officially. I didn't ask the Gibson guys, to be honest with you. I didn't ask. But anyways, if that happens, then I guess that's moot. It doesn't matter. The important will be Epiphone. So the answer to the question is they're not upset that I crashed the party. They said, at least in the email, that they were happy. Ron John says he'll never buy a Gibson. I understand that. Trust me, it's an emotional time. I'm just happy that they haven't done anything wrong this week. In fact, I'll show you this. Somebody sent me this. I thought it was funny. It was this. And that's accurate, by the way, today. It's been 9 days since Gibson's had an incident. I thought that was funny. It's in my little thing that I can share. Anyways, if I end up doing anything with them, it'll be with Epiphone, and it'll be to do some giveaways. We were talking about doing some acoustic Epiphone reviews and then doing some guitars for vets. So that I would review them and send them to Guitars for Vets. And if we do Epiphones, we would do it, and then we would do giveaways here on the channel for you guys and stuff. Something like that. I just haven't followed up with them because, I move slow when it comes to Gibson because I like their guitars, but sometimes the company's just too crazy to figure out, and I don't need, it's just crazy. So there you go. All right. On that note, we have another question. The question is, Raymond wants to know, do most Tele pickups fit in Bullet Squires? No. The bridge pickup on a Tele wouldn't fit in there, so that's easy. I mean, either, I don't know. You said Bullet Squires. I'm thinking Squire Strats. You might be talking about the Tele Bullet. The answer on the Tele Bullet Squire is that the pickups would fit. That's one of the few things that will fit universally in there is the pickups, the bridge and neck pickup. On the Squire Strat Bullet, they would not fit. The neck pickup on the Tele would fit, but you'd have to re-drill the holes in the pickguard to line up, or drill the pickup straight into the body. Either way, that could be modded, but the bridge pickup would be a little bit more tricky, if that's the question. And then Robert's question was, Phil, Schecter CR6 versus C1 SLS, considering the price. Let me take a look, buddy. I like the SLS series because it has the slimmer neck, and I'm usually a little bit thicker neck guy. I like medium to thicker necks. Not real big on the thinner necks, but the Schecter thinner necks just seemed really, really great. hold on a second. I wish you guys could see what I'm seeing, but at least I can describe it to you until we get this. So I see what you're saying. The CR6 versus the C1S LS. I like the C1L SLS because I like that neck better. It's a better feel for me. It's what I preferred. So that's my thing, and even considering the price. Okay, and on that note, we've done an hour and 20 minutes. So I think we're gonna call it. It was a cool week, and we got a nice weekend to get ready to. Grumpy Mike says, and it's funny, Grumpy Mike says, I try to keep all the BS out of it. I've always loved my Gibsons, and I'm sure I'll buy more. Yes. You know, I feel the same way. I have my Gibsons, and they're my, sometimes, I think I've said this, and I'll say this now, and we'll end on this note. Sometimes I wish I didn't know what companies were up to. Right? And then, because you could blissfully just buy your product and be happy with it. To be honest with you, there are tons of products in my home right now, in all our homes, that I bet if we took the time and went on Google and learned more about the companies that made them, we wouldn't be happy. And that's true. And I'm not saying you should be blissfully unaware. I'm just saying sometimes it's nice to be blissfully unaware. But yes, some of the Gibson stuff has been interesting, to say the least. And interesting is a nice way of saying horrible. But I agree with you. It's not prompted me to stop playing my Gibson guitars. I just, I'm not excited about playing them right now. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It just, doesn't get me excited. Okay, so, but I think each week hopefully things will improve with everybody and all the companies. On that note, I think we're gonna let it go. We're going to end the show today. So before I go, I just want to do a quick shout out to the patrons that make the show happen every week. And I have a special list here. As you guys know, this live show, whoa, it just kicked me out of my own thing. The show is sponsored by patrons, which is nice. And the live show support group, this is the patrons. And so, most of these patrons have been with me now for almost 2 and 3 years. Something I really probably should give them, like Jeff House, Zach Rowe, Michael Newman, Hannah Gunson, John Jex, Michael Scheid, Justin Mabe, Passy McKinnon. Just so you guys know, most of you have been definitely with me for at least 2 years on this live show. Thank you so much for that. And a lot of you others that I'm about to name too, again, and some even 3 years. It does make this feel like I'm not all by myself out here. It's kind of nice to have some backing, besides the randomness of what YouTube may or may not do to me each week. Alzadar McLeod, Andy Dennis, Anthony Desposito, Bob Crosley, Bob Pickwode, Brian Quackenbush, Brian Stewart, Bruce Collins, Chief Squatch, Chris from the Guitar Pit, or at the Guitar Pit, I should say correctly, Chris from New Mexico, Craig Parker, Dennis Prescott, Derek Miller, Aaron Kimmicker, Gary Phillips, Gene Graham, Greg Peterson, James Biles, John Russell, Jonathan Pickering, Joseph McCarthy, Kermit Jackson, Larry Colkin, Lawrence Petros, Lonnie Hoke, Michael Lidner, Michael Mooney, Muse guitarist, Paul Astrick, Lewis and Alvaro from Pedal Pal FX, Sam Oram, Steve Hogan, Tim Camacho, Tim Farnsworth, Todd Flowers, and Zesty Basil Pizza. Thank you guys for supporting what I do every week, and all of you for hanging out and supporting me what I do every week and being part of this community. And until next Friday, I appreciate you, and know your gear.